Hello there. I am so glad that you're here tonight. I am Kat Thompson, and I am your host for Paranormal Experienced. And I love getting a chance to host my friends. In fact, I'm going to let y'all know that I have a pre record coming next week with Scottish Paranormal. It is with Ryan and Greg. You can see them both on Haunted Scotland, and Ryan also has Haunted Ireland or Spook Scotland if you're there. And it'll be fun. So you're going to like that. That'll be next Wednesday. But tonight I have my bestie. Um, Before we get to that, though, I want to just let people know that A, our friend Rick McCollum's family is in Las Vegas, and I'm hoping that they're okay. And prayers for everybody that was affected by this bizarre wind. That was some damage, man. I mean, seriously. So just keep them in your thoughts because that's, if you're not used to that, it's wacky. I mean, it looked like a tornado had hit based on here, just in that stretch that I saw. But apparently it wasn't spinning, it was just blowing. Crazy stuff. HAARP's a thing. But tonight I have Lori Dorsey. Y'all know her. Y'all know that she is my partner in crime and paranormal. We have traveled together. We love doing that. We love getting the opportunity to investigate cool places. We've been to California. We have been to Scotland twice. We're about to do our third trip. And I think that it's pretty cool that we get to do these things. And she's such a good investigator. Y'all are going to enjoy her yet again. Lori Dorsey, hey.
Hey,
Hey, girl, hey.
hey.
So, how you doing?
Uh, finally coming out of that heat wave we had, so I'm pretty happy.
We'll
I
be
can
out of
ride
ours
my
about September. So,
yeah, ride south, and so yeah,
yeah. Well, you're welcome for me not getting you to Gulf Shores right now. So,
yeah,
I thought you were going to pass out on me when we did that the first time and it was so hot. And
yeah,
hello, Jeremy.
pretty,
So,
pretty.
you were
Even
toasty.
hot, even you were hot.
I was toasty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a difference between being where I am in Birmingham, because this is where I'm full time,
Mm-hmm.
and being in Gulf Shores, because while you still have the hot, that humidity gets up to 98, 99%. And then it starts to rain when it hits 100. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's a hot rain. But summer times are not for the
Faint.
unindoctrinated, right?
I
So,
mean, if I,
so hot. But that's why Southern girls are hot. It's not really the hot, it's the hot. So it works. So
yes,
how are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Getting ready for our next trip to Scotland. Just trying to get my goodies packed, get everything together, finding pillows so I have something to sleep on. you know, just
Guys,
trying.
just so you know, we leave September 27th and she's packing.
Well,
She is
August. We are.
August 27th. My
Yeah,
bad. But
yeah,
still,
yeah.
but still,
Hmm.
it's so funny
And I got.
because you know when I will pack.
Yeah. Well, I've got a. I. I don't know what the weather's going to be for sure. So a
We've
little
never
close.
been there at this time of year.
I know we usually go now. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to work ahead a little bit. That
Yeah.
that's just me. You know, so I don't have
That
to.
is just you because I am
You
I
buy
am not
your pants. I
I am a
plan.
seat of your pants girl. But I'm also ready to go somewhere at the drop of a hat. So,
Hmm.
I like traveling and I like adventure. So,
Train. Let's go.
yeah. And I grew up hearing that Delta's ready when I am. So, that's been their ad from the whole time that I was ever aware of ads. And I take them at their word.
I
until
agree.
they leave us somewhere.
Yeah. I'm just
Where,
glad nonstops. So
hmm?
I'm just glad we got nonstops.
We learned that lesson, didn't we?
Yes, we did. No
Right.
more.
No, the last time we were there, they left Edinburgh because we were flying through
Few
Amsterdam.
hours
Atlanta.
late.
What?
They were 2 hours late leaving Edinburgh.
They were. But so we weren't even striving to hit that, left on time goal.
Yeah.
But when we were in the air, they said, "Oh, by the way, we're not going to make your connection." And they're shutting down European airspace.
Yep.
So we got to spend the night in the Amsterdam
Yeah.
airport with every other person who had flown across Europe that day
Yeah.
because they were all trapped with us.
Yes.
So when I say we have paranormal adventures, we have adventures.
Yes.
So, but we have been so blessed because we've gotten to go to Scotland twice. The second
Yes.
time was because the first time sucked.
Yes.
So, except for the Scottish paranormal people.
Oh yeah.
But, the people of Scotland made up for the Americans that were ugly and nasty.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
if you're ever interested in touring through there, I would absolutely suggest do not find something mysterious because you will be abandoned. So,
Yes.
there you go.
There you
Hello,
go.
Pam. So, one of the things that you got so into, and I didn't know it was a thing because I figured that what they had there, they have here, right? But you
Right.
fell in love with an ale of all things.
Well, it's their
What was that?
it was the hard cider.
Hard cider.
Yeah, the hard
Yeah, I
cider.
know nothing about these things. So,
Well, most of the hard ciders we have here is apple cider, and it's good. Don't get me wrong, but the
we don't
ones that
have the berry stuff here.
it's imported that I've found. I mean,
So you couldn't find that here.
well, I can now because I looked it up. I didn't know it existed till I was over there. So
Okay.
yeah, I can get it over here now. I know where I can order it from or get it from. But if you go to a bar around here, it's usually, Angry Orchard or Red's Apple Ale or whatever.
Mhm.
But over there, oh my goodness, they have a lot of different flavors, a lot of different fruit flavors. The blueberry, the berry ale is just amazing. The cider is just because when we got uh, what is it? Joe Smiley handed me one. He goes,
Yes.
"What do you like? I think you need a drink after what we went through." I said,
Yes.
"Please have a cider." He says, "I'll get you a large." And he did. That thing was big.
Hey, Gina Neal. She said in a lot of flavored gins.
Yeah, yeah, they did a lot of stuff. But I mean, the food. My ultimate favorite was the
I have,
steak nail pie,
yes.
the,
And
sticky toffee pudding for dessert.
yes.
Those
Yes.
two things I could live on. I would
Yeah.
not have trouble. And the bread. Oh
Yes.
Lord.
We were a bread girl anyway, though, but
Oh, I
theirs really was good.
theirs was and the butter, the sweet cream butter that they have over there beats ours hands down. It's so good. It's so yummy. So
Hi,
yeah.
Sherry. Oh, Gina, did you eat haggis? Gina said, and haggis for breakfast.
Yeah, I had it.
Well, I had a bite of Mikey's
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
I was done.
And the blood pudding,
Did not try that.
I did. It's very dry, has no flavor. Not a big fan.
It didn't look dry. It looked slimy.
No, it was, there was really absolutely no flavor to it. I
Yeah.
just, now the potato scones were good. I didn't mind
Hmm.
those. The steamed tomatoes were okay.
I love tomatoes, so those were good.
Yeah. And what was the other thing? They had beans. Like,
They had baked beans for breakfast, beans on toast.
yeah,
I
they
had it for
did.
supper too.
Yeah. They didn't have there's not a lot of seasoning. Their sausage has no seasoning.
Yes.
Because that's why you and I went to McDonald's.
And their bacon is Canadian bacon.
Yes, that's what they consider their bacon, Canadian
They don't
bacon.
put bacon.
Yeah, it's like ham. But now McDonald's over in Scotland, the sausage tastes like it does here in the United
It's
States.
supposed. And guys, we we found a McDonald's for breakfast right across from the Scott Monument. And it was absolute heaven
Hmm.
because the coffee tasted right, the food tasted right,
Yeah,
and there
and,
was no haggis in sight.
and you could go
So,
upstairs and look out. You order your food, take your food up to second and third floor,
yes,
and you look out at
right at the Scott Monument.
yeah, right at the Scott Monument. You could see all the tour buses and the people, and it was really, really cool. Really
Yeah,
nice. I like that.
I like that too.
Hmm.
And, you know, it was so interesting. Gina says that she and Stephanie had made a pact not to eat anything American while they were there. But she saw a McDonald's too, but they steered clear. Well, I'll tell you that the second time we went, Gina, there wasn't, we didn't see any place really for breakfast where we were. We were right across from Waverly Station. And
Yeah,
so we went in search of breakfast and we saw that McDonald's and it was like, well, there's one.
yeah,
So
because
that's why we ate there for breakfast because we
yeah,
couldn't find anywhere else that was close.
the
And Rick
coffee
would have a fit if we were too far and he couldn't find us.
yeah, the coffee shops were okay, but they were really very busy, and
Hmm.
they didn't have a lot of
We didn't have a
food.
lot of food options. Yeah.
There wasn't, so that's why we went to McDonald's, and I needed
Yeah.
milk anyway for my shake, so
She
it
does
was
protein shakes every morning.
yeah, so it was all good. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, but then for supper, we always went steak.
Scottish.
Yes, Scottish steak. Boy, I tell you what, excellent food.
Yeah.
They have best hamburgers. Oh Lord, they're so yummy, and
Yeah.
the buns
Well,
that the burgers come on. Oh yeah, I'm making this.
and they are meat pies are yum, but
Yeah. Oh yeah,
the the bread in Scotland, it's really interesting because the EU does not allow Monsanto products.
right.
I wonder why, right? Yeah, we thrive on them here with
Yeah,
everybody getting cancer and,
yeah.
everything else.
Hmm.
But the first time I flew over there, I was coming on my flight from Amsterdam into Edinburgh, and the KLM, I guess, was my flight. But have the Netherlands have a national sandwich,
Yeah,
and the the air hostess came by with the package. They were handing them out. It's like a 20-minute flight, right?
yeah.
She's here. But I was like, thank you, but I don't do breads. And she was like, you can eat my bread. You'll love my sandwich. And it was personal with her
Oh yeah,
because that's her national sandwich. And I was like, well,
yeah. But she told me
okay,
they use no Monsanto, so the
yes, and I
gluten
could
would.
eat it. Yeah, I can eat anything in Scotland,
Oh yeah, yeah. Any
anything except
groceries
haggis.
the groceries we went to, all the breads we ate, we
Mhm.
tried, and they were all good. They were
They
all
were
good.
all good. And it's really funny because ostensibly you can't taste the Monsanto products.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, bread that has a shelf life of a month is not good for you.
Mm-mm.
But it's really it's really an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so impressed with the fact that everybody had such pride because of their food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean
Well,
the air crew, huh?
look what Greg did for me.
Yes.
brought me those butteries because I said something on Facebook about it. I said, "Boy, those look amazing." And
Yeah,
he brought me a whole bag of them.
he
Oh,
did, and you were stingy.
I did. I passed out a few. I gave a few out, but by
You
golly,
did give a few out.
oh man, they were so it it was like a
Tell
croissant.
people what a buttery is because
It's
it's
like a
not what you think.
yeah, it's like a croissant, but it's
Yeah,
made out of
it's a
butter.
small croissant.
Yeah, and it's so flaky and so good. And Grace said that those weren't the best ones that he got me. He said you got to go to Abershot, Aberdeen.
Aberdeenshire.
Yeah, he said they have,
Aberdeenshire.
but he said this is his local place that he gets.
Well, wasn't it at that farmer's market that we stopped at on our way to Balgony that afternoon?
Oh yeah,
Because it was still in Fife. I mean, all of that area is the Kingdom of Fife.
yeah, yeah. I can't tell you exactly where. Yeah, but that's where that's he picked us up and handed me that bag of butteries. He said, "Here they are." I went,
Yeah.
"Oh,
You were so excited.
so excited!" Oh, they
And
were.
I love to give you a hard time sometimes, but you know I love you. But it was just like the
Mm-hmm.
excitement abounded, and it was so cool.
Oh yeah, that
I
I
mean,
their
I
butter
love watching you get that happy.
and what was the other thing? I the cookies. What was the cookies? What was it?
I don't know. I couldn't get past the chocolate.
No, well there was the chocolate, which that's
A whole
their
nother world. I
shortbread. Was
don't
it
know what. Oh, the
short?
shortbread cookies.
Yeah, those homemade ones that we found at one of the bakeries or something. Oh my goodness. Was it shortbread?
It was shortbread.
Yeah, it was shortbread cookies. Oh my gosh. And the local bakeries, of course, I would try them, because they are really
Yeah,
good. And I was going to take some home and I ended up eating all of them.
I know. Well, we did take chocolate home,
Yeah, we
but
did.
and I'm going to tell you, this sounds like all we did was like food tour, right? But the first day that we got there, we were staying up at the Motel One by Waverly Station,
Hmm.
and there's a little mall there.
Hmm.
And I forget what it was that I was looking for, but we went into the mall and they had a chocolate shop.
Oh, yeah.
And we thought, oh, well, chocolate, we're going to be traveling. We're going to need something for munchies, whatever. This chocolate, you can't buy it here. You can't even buy it and have it shipped to you
No.
here. Okay. Because I tried. I tried every way I knew to get it here. And it was just the most astonishing thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think whatever they used to make that was paranormal, is what I think. Because
It's
it is
good.
very good.
Yeah, it was so good. And I was going to bring some home, and we ate it all along our trip that we took. And I didn't have much when I got home because I ate so much. It was so good.
Well,
So we're
I had a couple of sleeves of the macaroons, guys, were chocolate discs with like raspberry cream in them, and they looked like cookie macaroons.
yep,
And they were not cookie macaroons.
they had
That stuff was
to die for.
yes.
It was so good. They had orange and they had raspberry and they had salted caramel and they had, oh my gosh, strawberry. Uh, oh, there were so many. And of
There
course,
were.
all of them were good. And then you could get a sample pack of different ones, and pick out
We
the
went
one.
through a sample pack pretty fast.
Yep, it was good. All of it was. And then
It
I
was
was,
brilliant.
yeah, and I was so disappointed when we couldn't order them. We couldn't have
Well, I took it personally. Really, I did. But it's really something that took me aback because, while we're busy trying to get all of our ducks in a row,
them.
we got a phone call from our friend that says, "Hey, got some place for you to go." That was so exciting because did you ever expect that we'd get to go to something so iconic as that Writers Museum?
Nope, I really didn't think that we would be able to go into that place
Mhm.
because it isn't, they don't really allow that much. They don't allow ghost hunting in there,
Well,
you
it's
know.
public. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a government-owned
right.
museum,
Yeah. And,
and
mhm.
now at night, they would do ghost tours,
Yeah,
but,
tours. We took,
but we were actually so
yeah,
blessed.
yeah, we got to take equipment. We got to lock the doors and we got to, go from top to bottom. I mean, it was amazing. And I know Rick
Yes.
didn't get a lot out of it, but he wasn't feeling well. But man, we did. We
Yes.
had a lot of stuff going on. We had equipment going off. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that Writers Museum is definitely the articles and the everything that's under case definitely has energy attached to it. Def-
Yes.
Definitely. I got a weird feeling, but you actually got hurt. I mean, well, you didn't get hurt, but
Well,
you,
I checked to make sure I wasn't bleeding
yeah.
because
Well,
I felt like I got hurt. I
you
thought
had
that
the weirdest look on your face. I thought, oh no, what's wrong?
well, that was something that doesn't happen to me very
Mhm.
often,
Right.
and I've certainly never been struck. Like, that's not my thing. I
Hmm.
do have I do have gifts. I do not consider myself to have any mediumship type things, although I'm told I do, but I haven't developed them.
Right.
Um, but but it was a physical thing. It's like a whack. And so
Yeah.
that was a shock.
Yeah.
And that was surprising
Hmm.
because I thought I was maintaining. And
Hmm.
then you were like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And I'm
Because
like, "Mm,
you went sheet white on me, and I got a little concerned. Like,
well,
and
it
you
hurt."
go quiet,
So,
and yeah. So yeah, that was bizarre. Now I was the
yeah, I
only
don't want that anymore.
you had the experience there. We had a lot of interaction there, but I was the only one that really had any interaction at the Fair Maid's house in Perth.
Yes.
I had interaction big time when you
Yes.
all stairs.
Well, that was so cool because you had just sat down.
Yeah, and I had a full
And
blown conversation with whoever it was. I,
yeah,
with my K2, I explained to the entity what it was and how we could talk. And you have to do yes and no questions, and sometimes it's kind of difficult, try to get a yes and no, question. But you guys were upstairs looking at maps and doing stuff, and I didn't record any of it because it was such a shock. Because usually I'm not the
well,
one
you hadn't been ready. I mean, you didn't
that
anticipate that.
had never been investigated either,
Yeah.
and I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting anything. And it was like, oh my goodness. And I said, when I said, do you want me to, if you want me to leave, light it up. And it didn't light up. I said, if you want me to stay, light it up. And it went 5 lights. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, well, I won't go upstairs. I'll sit here and talk to you. So yeah, I was, finally got it narrowed down to, it was a guy, male. He was in his 40s. Back in the 1500s, he died from drowning. Uh,
Oh, I bet he was in that flood.
he said it was a flood. He was not married, but I did ask him if he was going to be married, and he answered, he hit all 5 lights. And I said, "Was your body ever found?" And it didn't light up. I said, "So nobody ever found your body?" And no, nobody. Yeah, nobody found me. I said, "Did your wife or your fiance, um, did she live through the flood?" And he, yes, like all 5 lights. So, you know, it it was the strangest conversation, and I said, "Can I go upstairs now?" Because I'd been sitting there for like a half an hour.
Yeah, you were a while.
Yeah, and I said, if it's okay for me to go upstairs, light it up." And he hit all 5 lights. I said, "Well, it was very nice talking to you. I'm glad we had this conversation. I just wish I could help you more with, you know, location of your body, since they never found it. So that's when I went back upstairs. I mean, I think they had some, Mikey got some stuff when they came downstairs after being up there.
Well, there was stuff up there in that library.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that was,
There was energy up there. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it was responsive
Yeah.
also.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
nothing like that. Because I think when you get a gift of a one on one conversation like that, it really is a gift.
Yeah. It
I
really was.
mean,
'Cause it's so.
because they just
Yeah.
wanted to talk.
Yeah. And that's what I asked him. I said, do you just want me to, you know, talk to you? And it pegged 5 lights. I thought, okay, I don't have to go upstairs. I can sit down here and talk to you.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I like talking. If you haven't figured that out.
I'm shocked. I am
Yeah,
absolutely shocked. I
I
had
know.
no idea. Well, that was an astonishing house because
Mm-hmm.
it was so unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give credit where credit's due. And Lynn and Gary Knight are who got us in there.
Yeah.
We were at the Salutations Hotel
Yeah.
there, and the Fair Maid House was across the way and
Mm-hmm.
up a little bit,
Yeah.
and it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. It's
And if I'd known we were going to talk about that, I would have popped a picture in. I'm sorry I didn't do that.
yeah.
But it really was the most interesting place because they had maps from the 1400s.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had some. I think they had some older than that, didn't they? Because when he opened the map drawer,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking at them, and they're pristine. They were beautiful.
Yeah.
Their cartography is just amazing
Yeah.
in that period because they had all the big, elegant writing and things like that. And Jimmy Buffett's last album, he had a song about his dying. He was like, when the panic starts, I look at my maps and my beautiful charts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's all I could really think about when heard that song was the maps that we had seen up there.
Oh yeah.
And they look like treasure maps. I mean, that they're drawn like treasure maps.
They did.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was just such a gift. And they had stuff that was emerald birds, wasn't it? Emerald bird stuff that was up there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was just
It
a
was really.
really cool and eclectic place
Mm-hmm. It really was. It had. It
because
had.
they had a quote.
It had.
Go
It had
ahead.
an. But it wasn't a weird energy. But you could feel an energy.
No, it was that. Yeah, it was an interested energy because they don't get many people like us coming through there.
Mm-mm.
And
You're probably thankful for that.
in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, they don't get people like us coming through there. But it was really the the beams in the library upstairs
Mm-hmm.
actually had a quote from the guy that wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And nobody else noticed that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, look at this.
Look up.
And, I was just so tickled because I thought that was a neat thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
But there
Yeah.
were so many different things in there.
Oh, it was when Gary took us around and showed us all of the, you know, some of the original castle wall or the, it, and the graveyards, how the graveyards were the Kirks
Yes.
down through there, and they don't mow them
Mm-mm.
because of the wildlife,
Yeah.
but um, they have the walkways through everything, and I found the Patterson name again in there,
Hmm.
and the thing, like I said before, the thing that really surprised me about the Patterson name, there's a lot of James Patterson. I had an uncle James, and a lot of Helen,
Hmm.
which is my mom and my grandmother's name.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
it was amazing. It really was amazing. And then the grates, we walked by and he told us what the grates were because they look like ghosts. And it's because that's where, the graves are down there.
Yes.
And
I'm going to see if I can get these while we're talking. I'm going
yeah.
to see if I can move these over because I'm not on the computer that has those images.
Oh, okay.
But
But it was pretty amazing. I mean, seriously. And then the salutations where we stayed at,
oh
that
my
place
word, yes.
that place was really cool. I mean, we really got a lot of activity in that back, like hall room or something back there. And Mikey had the um, tripwire, is what I call it, a tripwire, and it was different colors and it ran up and down.
Uh, and you can see this on Ghost Stop
Yeah,
because this was the coolest thing
hmm
that was a new tool that I haven't seen.
yeah,
And I just
and,
thought it was such a neat idea.
yeah. And when you could see something come into the room and walk back out, you could see the
Yeah.
lights and you see them like peek in and come down a little bit to see, and then they go back up and leave. And it was that did that off and on the whole night. And my doll was going off quite a bit. My K2 doll, it my REM pod was going off. It was it was really something. I mean, it really salutations is definitely has an energy, big time.
Well, and it's so beautiful. And I mean,
Hmm.
everybody laughs at me, but I have always read historic fiction.
Hmm.
And Rosamund Pilcher wrote a book called September. And this book is about the Scottish areas that we were actually in. So
Hmm.
that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
And when I saw the names of these places, I'm just freaking out. And you thought I'd lost my freaking mind because we're on a train on our way to somewhere,
Yeah.
and the we each had 2 pieces of luggage plus backpacks,
Yes.
and so there's 5 of us,
And we were
and
rolling around.
I'm sitting there, and nobody's really paying attention because we're tired and we're like cross-eyed sitting on the train, and I
Hmm.
just looked up and I saw the town name, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, lovely seeing you too, Gina. Have a good Scotland next year. We'll talk about that. But the thing that got me was that I saw I saw the name of the town from my books,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And so I grabbed Rick, who was trying to sleep, and I was like, we have got to get off this train. And he's like, we are not getting off this train. What is wrong with you? And I was like, it's crying. So I'm having a duck fit to get off the train.
Hmm.
And he thinks that I have lost my ever loving mind.
Hmm.
Mikey and Julie are just kind of like, everybody's tired, right? We're all kind of nodding out because we're on our way to St. Andrews.
Yeah.
And so, and we knew it was going to be a ride.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I am just absolutely adamant. We have got, and I mean, I've got his shirt, right? We've got to get off this train. And he just looked at me and said, you are not getting off this train. So that was a big bone of contention. So when we were talking about our trip this year, I was
Mhm.
like, "We're going to Croy."
Mhm.
And he was like, "We are not going." "What is it with you and Croy?" And I'm like, "I need to see it," because the other thing was I knew it was real
Mhm.
because I had seen the Bomberino name on something out the window,
Mhm.
and the Laird of Croy is Laird Bomberino,
Oh, okay.
and so it's real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know where every shop is here." Yeah, I know where everything is. So, yeah, and I really think that probably would turn out to be almost like a past life thing.
Probably.
And so, I mean, that's how I felt.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I really need to do this.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he's like, why Troy? And so then I'm like, well, I want to go see places we haven't seen yet. And
Yeah.
so I'm giving him names of places and I want to do this and I want to do that. And he's like, why Aberdeen? I'm like, why not Aberdeen?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it.
There's
It's
a couple
haunted.
there's a
There's a
couple
hotel.
yeah, there's a couple cool, castles.
Yeah. And there's a haunted hotel.
Yep.
Not unlike Salutations.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's but no.
But,
So
you and me,
I do. And we'll
we
get in trouble, but that's okay.
would jump a train. We're out of here.
We're a threat to.
Mhm.
But I don't necessarily want to go back to Glasgow really.
No, I mean, it was a cool place, don't get me wrong. The architecture was amazing.
Yeah.
Walking down through there was absolutely you have to look up.
Hmm.
Really, it was really cool. Do I wanna go back? No.
Not necessary.
Like I said, I
But
just
that was where they held that Scottish Paranormal and UFO conference, which is what I was there for.
right.
And everybody just went with me, which I appreciated so much because that
Oh,
way
yeah,
I didn't get like in trouble with David. So
it was a cool
that was a
place.
plus.
Mhm. And the
But
motel I got to stay at was super tiny rooms,
yeah.
super tiny.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, Edinburgh is cosmopolitan, but
Mhm.
it's not new.
No.
Glasgow's not really cosmopolitan. It's more of a university and navy town.
Mhm.
And it's not the same.
Right.
So, but the
Different.
university was cool, and that's where actually a lot of Harry Potter was filmed was at the University of Edinburgh.
Mhm.
No, Glasgow.
Pascal.
And
Mhm.
so I thought if I had realized where we were when we were at that UFO conference, we would have gone and walked the campus, but I didn't realize it was the same one
Yeah. But it was
because
fun.
I'm in trouble with my children that I didn't do that. And I'm okay with that.
We got to see some cool places. I got some really good fish and chips. It was good. We got to walk
Yeah.
around. It was
Well,
yum.
and it was different,
Mhm.
because that's one of the reasons you travel is to see things that are different.
Mhm.
And, it's really there's so much there.
Yeah, it's a lot of industrial stuff,
It is
but
an industrial city.
yeah,
They have a
it's
seaport.
yeah. So it's different than Edinburgh, which was cool too. I mean, you get to see that,
I like different.
yeah. It was it was I liked it, but do I want to go back? I would rather go see something else I've never seen before. You know,
Right. So
like
that's why we're going to Edinburgh and St. Andrews.
yeah,
We're not seeing anything we haven't seen before. That's
well,
okay.
and then go back up to Inverness
Yeah.
and hopefully catch a tour to Skye
Yes.
because I want
That
to
is
see.
a happening thing. That is
Yeah,
going to happen.
I want to go up to see Skye. I want to see the fairy pools. I want to see all of that. You
Yeah.
know, if we can see the viaduct, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
And see Harry Potter train go over.
Or ride the
I've
Harry Potter train over.
taken pictures like crazy.
Yes.
They have the steam one go, I don't know how many times a day goes over it. So, you
Yeah.
know, I'd be
Well,
be
I'd really just as soon see it as write it.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
because I like the experiences, but I mean,
right.
it would be fun to see it moving as
Mhm.
opposed to being in it and not being able to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Would like to see it going over that viaduct and film it going over, going, you know.
Yeah.
But I liked. We didn't get to walk around a lot of Inverness, but that was a cool place,
Well,
you know.
we did walk a lot, but
Well, yeah, during the
just
tour,
the one day.
yeah. And that Leakey's bookshop, that was cool.
Lovely piece. And it's so funny because Rick is like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "We're going in here." So we did,
Yes, we
but
did. But it was just fun. I mean, we walked our
yeah,
feet off, but it was cool.
yeah.
It was cool.
And we learned that if something has purple doors, then it's witch
Mm,
oriented.
it's rich. No wonder I'm purple oriented.
Yeah. But it was really funny because there was that beautiful church with the purple doors.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, we didn't know what that was indicative of.
Nope. Had no.
And there were a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, that graveyard we got to go through that they'd never really investigated, that was
well, they had never
crazy.
investigated. We were the first ones to get to do that.
Yeah. And that was
And
crazy.
that's where I found my grandmother's name,
Mm-hmm. And that's where I
which
found
was weird.
in. I found several Pattersons. I found a James Patterson that was a flesher, which turns out to be a butcher.
Yeah.
And this was back in the, I don't know, 17th century, 16th, 17th century was on the grave marker. It was like,
Yeah.
holy, you know. And well, Rick had that thing happen to him.
Oh gosh, that was wicked.
Yeah. He wasn't getting anything until he sat on that guy's graveyard or gravestone.
Well, I would probably be ill if somebody came and sat on my, tomb
Yeah.
because it was there's some things you don't do, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And
I think he wants to go back to see if he
he
has,
does.
I was going to say, I think he wants to go back there again. You know, I was getting hits all over the place. Something was
Yeah.
foul all up and down through there. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, Julie was getting a lot of hits on her K2. Also, I got a lot of pictures of her because of the way that she was angled. Because I
Hmm.
had come up behind her and I could see the lights on her K2, and I'm like, oh, she's getting
Hmm.
some action.
Oh yeah.
Because when we were at Temple, Temple, guys, is the original church of the Knights Templar,
Yeah.
and it is a ruin, and it's a serious ruin. But it has graves, and it still has the end walls
At the
of the
church.
church,
Hmm.
and it really is breathtaking.
Oh yeah. And
And
you had some weird stuff happen with me.
I did have some weird stuff happen, and it was you disappeared. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
disappeared. And I was using my thermal imaging
Hmm.
camera. Wasn't
Yeah.
it with the thermal?
Yep.
And
Because
you were there, and then you took a step forward and you were not.
yeah, you said step back. Okay. There you are.
I mean, 'cause I'm looking at you
Hmm. And
and
I stepped forward, and you said you're not.
gone.
And so I stepped back, stepped forward, stepped back, and you,
I was filming that the whole time too because it was just like, I can't believe this is happening. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
yeah.
And, I'm not used to losing you unless you're squirreling somewhere.
Well,
But, that whole area, because
mhm,
where we were then was up around the graves at the top,
yes,
right?
yes.
And, you know, I had been down by the river
Mm-hmm.
because there was something just pulling me there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I know you're here. I feel you,
Mhm.
and I know you're here,
Mm.
and I'm using my thermal, and I'm not getting anything, and I'm looking at my night vision just in case, and
Mhm.
I'm not getting anything because it was dark back there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, look, I'm going to put my tools down. Can you just talk to me?
Mhm.
And I wasn't getting anything. And so I went and found Lee and said, look, I'm struggling here. I need help. Lee Dunn, who was like the best psychic in Scotland.
Yeah.
And so I went and was talking to him, and I'm like, look, could you please come over here?
Yeah.
And he did. And he was trying to help me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't think I'm a medium. He was like, mediumship, you have this. Let's do this. And so I'm just like, I feel like it's right here.
Mhm.
And I don't really know who it was,
Yeah.
but I do know it was male.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
That's what you said. 'Cause
yeah.
I walked back up to where Rick and Greg and Mikey and
Yeah.
everybody was at, and the midges started coming out. So
Yeah.
I pulled my hood over top of me because they were
Poor
just,
Mikey got eaten up.
oh man, big time. But they got activity when you were down you and Lee were down by that river down there.
Mhm.
They were getting hits on the REM pod
Mhm.
up where that bench was at where we put our stuff. They were
Yeah.
getting it wasn't continuous hits, but they were getting hits when Rick would ask if somebody was there and it would go off.
Yeah.
So, there was something up there while you guys were down. Somebody was down there with you. So
Mhm.
I think there were several, you know, spirits of
Well, I
some
wish,
nature.
but what we didn't get was consistency, like to
No.
be able to ask questions and know that we were actually getting an answer. And
Hmm.
that, when pretty much everywhere else that we had been wanted to communicate with us and was able to communicate with us, it
Hmm.
was very unusual to me that we were not getting consistent behaviors with the equipment.
Right.
And so I wondered if it was because they just were maybe afraid of it because what are lights, right?
Yeah.
Or because it was such an ancient site.
Hmm. It was just
And
random hits would come through,
mhm,
but when we would ask questions, I mean, there wasn't really. We got some words come through because I was using Greg's app, their app on the
yeah,
phone, and I was getting some words coming through, but it wasn't anything earth shattering.
do you remember what words you were getting?
Dead,
Just by chance.
just dead, which makes sense. You're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, there was oh, I can't remember. It's been so long since I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head, but I do remember dead. And I thought, well, okay, all right, that makes sense. But it was the midges that started. I was ready to get out of there when the
Well,
midges
I know
started
that.
like coming at you. It was like, I'm done. I'm ready.
Yeah. I I'm very I do get mosquito bites periodically,
Hmm.
but I guess I wasn't sweet enough for the midges, and poor Mikey was drawing them all anyway.
Yeah,
So
he had a
he was,
where his hood was. You could see all the bites all around where his hood was at.
yeah, I felt so bad for him.
Legs, oh, around his legs. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Ugh. But yeah, this time I think we'll be out of the midge season when we go. So
Well, I'm just concerned that I'm going to freeze to death, and everybody's like, "You'll be fine." I'm like, "I'm bringing sweaters," and they were like, "What?" I said, "I'm bringing jumpers. I am not going to be cold." And they were just laughing at me because they're like,
well, I've
"You're
got my
so weird."
I got my fleece lined leggings, so I'm gonna bring those. So I'll be good there. Those are nice
Yeah.
and we're out walking around for a long period of time, I'll be good. So
Yeah.
that and my jeans,
Well, either that or you'll be sweating to death, one of the two.
one or the other. That's
But I
why
got a feeling that it's gonna feel cold to me. You may
yeah,
be fine with that, but I think it's gonna feel cold to me. I'm
well,
such a sissy. Sissy
nah,
ghost hunters.
nah, we're good.
But, it's one thing because, the landscape is going to be different when we're
Mhm,
there,
mhm,
I feel like, because of the change. And I'm wondering, and I didn't think to ask the guys when I had them on with me, but I'm curious as to whether there's going to be like a difference in the level of activity that we pick up or a difference in where we get activity because we
mhm,
can't go back to Bannockburn. And I
right,
would love to go back to Bannockburn because I want to see if that happened to you again.
mhm,
But because it would be nice to be able to document that it was a recurring thing,
yeah, so
and that was such a personal reaction to you.
yes,
And if you don't know, Lori killed somebody at Bannockburn and they did not like that. And they recognized her energy and they would not accept her apology.
nope,
And they were adamantly mad at her.
mhm,
And that was
yes,
bizarre.
yes,
That was really bizarre.
it was. That was the
I
weirdest
mean,
feeling I'd ever I'd had.
yeah,
I, you know, just the weirdest thing. And no matter what I said, no matter what I did, he wasn't having it.
nope.
Having it. Well, it's just
Not
like
the
when,
least bit interested in an apology either.
you know, it was also, now I know you had an experience, but that rate castle, that ancient
Yes,
ruin over there, that was a very odd vibe or
it
energy.
was.
I walked clear around that place. And I mean, I I didn't say anything because you always accuse me. Don't say if you recognize me. But there was such a familiarity in that
Mhm.
place when I walked around the outside. It's
Well,
like,
it wasn't because I say that to you, because I say that to you all the time, and you didn't stop until you got that reaction of Bannockburn.
yeah, but it,
Because I was like, "Quit
I
asking
felt,
him."
yeah, at rate, I didn't say anything, but I walked around that place and it was like, I've been here before. It seems so familiar
Yep.
and so I was at home.
Yes.
It was the strangest thing. 'Cause I mean, I knew it's like I knew where I was going when I was walking the
Mhm.
ground. I knew where I was at, I knew where I was going. Walked into the courtyard, I knew exactly where to go, and it was just so weird.
And
So
cool.
never been there in my life.
Yeah.
But you had,
Well, not this life.
yeah, but you had a burn on those
I got
rocks.
burned by
Yeah.
the by the by the dowsing rods. I got a burn on my hand.
Hmm. You
And
had.
that's only it was a real burn too. It hurt. But I've had that happen. Use I was checking someone else's stones out, and it
Hmm.
was a red jasper, and I got a burn on this finger.
Hmm.
I got burned on this finger from the rods, but this finger I got burned by a piece of red jade.
Hmm.
And I mean, I just found that so weird
Hmm.
because I am there's certain stones that I'm drawn to, certain that I'm not, and that was not one, but a friend had just gotten it and they were so proud of it.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Here, just hold this and see what you think." And I held it and I was like, "I think this is yours." And I gave it back and I had a burn on my hand, on my finger.
Yeah.
But so when that happened at Ray Castle, I was just kind of like, why are the rods burning me?
Yeah.
And because Barry was using them, but they were clears.
Hmm.
And, I bought myself a pair just like them because I thought that they responded so well. They were very well weighted and
Hmm.
they were just good rods.
Hmm.
And so I have some now and
Yeah.
they're going with me. But, you know, I've never been damaged by a tool.
Yeah.
And
Greg explained to you what it could have been from?
tell me.
When Greg said that the girl that lived in that,
Yes.
her not her husband, her father,
Yeah.
he was climbing out the window and cut her hands off
Yeah.
because she was meeting the rival's son
Yes.
she had fallen in love with.
Yeah.
So that could be the reason why you got the burn on your hands, to say that, you know, something happened, and which it did,
Well,
you know.
it did. And, you know, obviously it was from something very strong happening there.
Hmm.
That would have been something that left an energetic mark. But I wasn't in the castle.
Mm-mm.
I was out in the courtyard.
Hmm.
And,
But we were,
could she have still reached me?
mm,
Yeah, she could,
we,
because they're not bound, you know,
mm-mm,
I was still in the castle area.
hmm,
And I can't imagine your own father cutting your hands off and letting you just drop and break your legs and
yeah,
die.
yeah,
That would be,
horrific.
I cannot fathom that. We're so blessed. We live, you know, in this time, which is still, everybody has tumultuous times.
Oh yeah.
And, it's just kind of a lot of ancient history is so brutal.
Hmm.
The Scots were a warrior class,
Hmm.
and they dealt with Vikings. They ran the Vikings out of their land. They're such badasses. But, they really are, the clan structure created differences.
Hmm.
And it was it was really a tough environment.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's not any wonder that you have the brutal history as well as the beautiful history,
Hmm.
but the brutality of the mindset of the people that lived in that period was definitely horrific.
Hmm.
And, it's like everywhere that you go, there's energy.
Oh yeah.
And, it's like Greg and Ryan say, the history is the mystery.
Yep.
And it's all it's all brutal.
Oh yeah. Definitely. The other thing was, um the energy circles that were all over the place in
Yeah.
Scott.
I had the best time turning you on to that. That
I
was so special.
Yeah,
I mean,
I never really looked at it until you brought it to my attention, but they were everywhere. The trees were in a circle,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and even at the camp, those clavacarons, that was ancient. That energy,
There were a lot of energy circles there.
oh my gosh, between the stones, and then, the standing stones, and then the trees, those ancient trees. I got more out of the trees than I did the stones.
I did
The
too.
I stood there and touched that tree, and I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it was the energy was so old, very ancient, but very calming for me. It was very calming, and it was.
Usually energy of that nature is,
Hmm.
because nature is enduring it has no end.
Hmm.
And especially in an environment like that, the Clava Cairns, those are cemeteries. And so when you think about all of the bodies that are in these circles, buried in these stones, it's it's really unbelievable. And then, you have the standing stones, which I'd never seen Outlander. I didn't know I was supposed to go, you know,
Yeah.
but but the energy off of them
Hmm.
was astounding,
Oh yeah,
and
everything there old, very very old, ancient type stuff, druid.
yes,
We're talking
it
way.
was, yeah,
Hmm. Well,
you're
what was the
absolutely
place we went to? That was we tied those pieces of material and we put
yes,
now, you know,
with intention
yeah,
over
that
the street.
he was saying that a lot of people would get headaches and they'd have to leave. But when I went in there, it was the most it, it was very calming, very
Felt healing, right?
yeah, that's the word, healing.
Yeah,
When I was back there, because he was saying that a lot of people that they brought back there had to leave because it was negative or it was not good.
yeah.
And I said, oh good, here we go. But it was healing, it really was. I felt so good, my energy, just I felt like I was renewed, you know
Yes,
getting over
from the
to,
water, from that
yeah,
stream.
from
I
that
mean, it was such a peace. But the year before when we had gone to Danino Den,
yeah,
which the idiot leading the tour was like, "Oh, this is
yeah,
evil and wicked and stuff." Well, it's not. And she told us that all the rags tied there were curses,
yeah, and they weren't.
and they were not. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, this doesn't feel like a cursed area.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was Danino was the area,
Mhm.
and the church was Danino.
Mhm.
And so that spring, because that water was a spring where
Mhm.
people had tied their prayers.
Yep.
The cloth were prayers or intentions.
Mhm.
And so, yeah,
I couldn't go down. I couldn't go down.
I couldn't either because of my knee.
My feet were bad, so I stayed up closer to the church. But I was
Well, I
having
would have liked to have
the
seen the carving in the down there. I would have given anything to go down those stairs.
but
But
I was having things walking around me,
mhm,
hear things walking around me
yeah.
the whole time you guys were down there, and I thought, "Nope, I'm gonna go on up to the church, go back out to the road, because
Well, I
whatever."
didn't go down into the den. I
Yeah,
stayed up,
yeah,
and because Rick wouldn't let me try it.
yeah,
But it really was so interesting because all of the negative connotations that we were told that that had were a lie.
yeah. It was all BS.
And so I felt like it was a lie.
Mhm.
And then when we were with the Highland Paranormal
Mhm.
and Liam was telling us, here we're going to all, you have to dip your cloth into the water and then tie it.
Mhm.
And, that is your intention.
Mhm.
And it was basically a wish.
Mhm. But we
And
did we did put coins into the what they call the wishing well, the
we
little
did.
thing.
Yeah,
But like I said, when I was there, it just felt healing.
it
It was
was.
not,
I
it
thought
was
so too.
negative because it kind of worried me when he was saying people had to leave and people got headaches and they've got all kinds of. I thought, oh, this is not good. I thought, no, just go ahead and go and just see what happens. It was positive for me. I had no issues at being down there at all. I mean, it was really cool, and it was just a really cool experience being there. And it was ancient. You could feel it was a very old energy, and it was just like it was okay. I was okay down there. I had no issues at all.
No. Well, I will tell you that our first trip, we did not have a responsible person who had taken the time to research and have knowledge of the places we were going.
Hmm.
And That was disappointing.
Mhm.
But the second time, this past year, we were, because of Rick's connections with Scottish Paranormal and with Gary and Lynn, which History and Hauntings, History and Horror
Yeah, history.
tours, you can go and do those with them.
Mhm.
But because of Rick's connections, we were with people who are nationals, Scottish nationals. They know and love their area. Highland Paranormal is a TAPS team.
Mhm.
So they have standards that they have to meet. And I would never bet against any of the people that we were with. Scottish Paranormal is the nicest group of humans, and their
Mhm.
subscribers are wonderful.
Mhm.
And, they're so nice and supportive.
And
I
they
just
took
think it's wonderful to be part of them.
yeah, they took care of us.
They do take care of us.
Mhm. They took care
So,
well, they all did. All the groups,
yeah,
all of them did.
good
They
people
mhm.
and good ghost hunters.
Oh, very good. I wouldn't I would never think twice if I could go with them. While
Mm,
I'm over there, I would go. I
yeah.
wouldn't hesitate. You wanna go? Sure.
Let me grab something that I can use. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was one of the things that Scottish Paranormal just did a public investigation at Mingus.
Mhm.
And I actually said that right, Scottish Paranormal, so don't be mean. But because it's spelled Menzies,
Yeah.
but it's Mingus, Castle Mingus.
Mhm.
And, I was I watched some of that feed,
Yeah.
and it was so amazing because I actually would not mind investigating there again.
Mhm.
I don't usually want to go back to places I've been because I
Mhm.
feel like I'm wasting time when I could see something else.
Right.
But Castle Mingus was such an odd energy to me. It was peaceful,
Yeah.
and you can't touch it for being a beautiful location. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah. It's
And, you know,
beautiful.
yeah, but the activity, I felt like it was unsure of us, so it was hesitant.
Mhm.
Did you feel like that?
Yeah. They didn't know who we were. It's like, "Who
Mhm.
are you?" That's the feeling I got when we went
Yeah.
in there. "Who are
Why
you?"
should I talk to you?
Yeah. I
Why are
don't
you
know.
talking to me?
Yeah. And, like I said, if you don't wanna talk, that's okay. You know, I
Yeah.
just flew thousands of miles, but that's okay.
Well, but it was so because there was a sundial, guys, and it was just sitting in a window
Mhm.
with a chair beside it. There was a sundial table, and it was the window it was in was as you're looking at it, this most beautiful pasture land. I've never seen anything like this.
Mhm.
And so I just felt like I was supposed to be there. And I stayed in that window for a long time trying to figure out what it was that I was supposed to be doing there.
Mhm.
And I think I was just supposed to be enjoying it's like I was being shown the beauty.
Mhm.
Like, like, here, look
Look,
at this. You
yeah,
know.
beautiful.
Yeah. And so I do feel like that might have been some type of interaction. I thought
Mhm.
it was very cool.
Mhm.
But and I will never get over there being a death mask of Bonnie Prince Charlie right in this place. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get that here.
No. That was
So,
that I didn't get any activity in there, but that was
mhm,
a strange thing to look at, was
yeah.
his mask. It was like, "Wow, okay." You know, okay.
But that was the proof of his demise.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They
I
didn't take
guess maybe they made one as he was being taken around. I don't know how that worked.
oh, I'm not sure.
I was kind of a little on the wigged out side when that was being explained, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? That was kind of odd to me.
We got our picture
But
taken.
we did. And none of us could remember who took it.
Yeah, I know. I kept saying, who
That
took
was
this?
so funny. Who has the death mask picture?
Who
But we should have said, who has the Finding Prince Charlie picture? But it really was so interesting because Rick was having a bad time that night.
Is
And I felt like when he was in that back room, the one that had the drop down, hide the person thing,
mm-hmm.
escape thing,
Oh yeah.
because this castle had escape hatches.
Yes.
So it was really interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because Rick was having a tough time, he was tired, he was achy, he wasn't moving as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was just sitting in that room
Mm-hmm.
and he was just, he had his tam o' shanter, his little thingy on,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just sitting there like this, and he's like kind of rocking, trying to feel better.
Yeah.
And he started getting activity around him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
His KT was going off, things
Mm-hmm.
like that were happening.
Yep.
And it didn't dawn on me until I was getting ready for this show. And I was thinking, well, what are we going to talk about? Because we talk about everything.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, when we were at Mingus, Rick was getting a lot of activity. I wonder if they thought that he was like a tribal elder or something. If he was, you know,
Yeah.
well, he was obviously the leader of our group. So maybe
Yeah.
they felt like he was a chieftain and
Oh,
they
I
were
could.
responding to him as such.
Yeah.
And what do you think of that?
Well, I never really thought about it, but you're probably right. Because he had his tartan on his head, you know, and with the McCollum name, they knew he was. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense, you know,
Well, I
that
mean, they were reacting to him.
yeah, they were because you and I and Mikey and Julie didn't get a lot of reaction there,
Mhm.
but he did. Rick did. No, I just chalked it up. It's Rick,
Yeah.
you know.
And everybody wants to talk to Rick.
Yeah.
And I
So
just felt like it was I felt like it's like it had kinship with him,
yeah,
some type.
of some nature.
So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So they were interacting with him.
Mhm.
Plus, we were female, you know.
We were the fluff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, with having the red hair, we
Yeah.
redheads.
So I hear.
Yeah, that's what I'm so mean. I can be. I need to be, you know.
You are, just not
Yes.
to me, which I'm
Yeah.
appreciative of.
Hmm.
But what did you feel like? I know where we want to go,
Hmm.
but where did you feel like you were getting the most personal interaction?
Wow.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we that second trip we took, it was back to back to back to back to back to back to back ghost hunts. And I definitely had a paranormal hangover. Whoa. But I think other than Bannockburn
Mhm.
and then Fairmaid's house, and then if anything happened at Bankfoot, I never would have known because I was so
We didn't even know where we were.
no
I took a picture of the sign of the inn out of our bedroom window because I'm like, I'm never going to remember where we were.
because
So,
they gave us permission to go down and investigate. But when my head hit that pillow in that bed, I was gone. I was
yeah,
so
me too.
because we had been at Bannockburn for how many hours? It was like
A lot.
Oh, I was exhausted. But oh
And we
wow. I
drove
mean,
cross country from Bannockburn
mhm.
to the Bankfoot Inn.
Now I was trying to think. The most personal, those are the two that I got that were most personal was Bannockburn and Fairmaids. Activity that was kind of crazy was when we were at this, the salutation was crazy.
Mhm.
And
That
then
was crazy.
mhm, and I didn't have none of my equipment and stuff went off at the Clavicarons, but it was the energy, just like when you showed me at that church when we were standing down there at Inverness when my shoulder was killing me. And you said, "Come over here and stand in these trees. This is an energy
That
circle."
was at that wasn't Inverness. That was
Uh,
that little town where we
oh,
stopped for lunch.
per, no, Perth,
It was
no.
done something.
I can't. There was so, like I said, it all runs
Mhm.
because I was so tired. But there, it was really cool because the river was just absolutely amazing. There's people going up and down the river. But that's where you said that because my arm was killing me, my shoulder. And that's when you said, "Get here in this energy circle, touch this tree, and let me touch your shoulder." And you put me to my knees.
But it fixed it.
You
It
said,
did fix it.
"Feel better." And yeah, I went, wow. I went, I, I
Well,
almost knees, but it did start feeling better. So
yeah.
that was
Well,
nice.
I honest to God did not know that that tree was going to ground you like that. So that was unexpected for both of us.
Mhm.
But because I could have just used one hand on that. So the things
Oh,
you don't know, you don't know.
yeah,
But you know, that's something that you needed to know that though,
yeah, and
because
then I started noticing it when
mhm,
you showed it to me. And then I started looking because it never registered with me until you brought it to my attention. And then I would look around and think, oh, look at those trees. Oh, look at those trees. I mean, you could see they were just in a perfect like a circle, and
mhm.
if you needed
Gun
cleansing,
kill. I
you
think it
could
was
go
gun kill.
you go in there and touch the trees, and you could feel the energy.
Power.
And yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
Well,
But I
the what what was cool, like the little town we were in,
mhm,
the the circle that we were in, and I picked that one because it had those pink blossoms and it was so pretty, and it was just,
mhm,
that one spoke to me.
mhm.
But there were a lot of them, a lot of the circles of trees outside that church
Oh yeah.
and going down the side of the river
Mhm.
once you got to a certain point, like closer to the houses, they stopped.
Yeah.
But so, and when we were at the Clive Cairns, there were a lot of those energy circles. So,
Yep.
and I was really surprised when we were there because they were very specific circles and they were fairly small to have such big trees.
Yeah.
And so the energy at Clive Cairns was astounding.
Yeah.
So I would probably not have done that to you at Clive Cairns. So, because those were, and that energy was off the chain.
Oh yeah. It was
And
crazy.
so I
Yeah.
just wandered through those circles and just experienced each one of them. That's why I was wandering around so much when we were there
I was
because
in between the trees because I mean, the stones, yes, they had a really interesting energy for me. It was
mhm,
the trees that
yeah,
I was to. I was going straight for the trees, and I roamed all around where those trees were at. It was like,
yeah.
oh, and you could
And it's
just
like you would step out of one circle into the next
mhm,
there,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
and
cool.
it was cool. It really was. It was ancient. I can't explain other than it was very old. You could
And
feel. I mean, it was to the point where each circle I went into, I was healed a little more,
mm,
healed a little more, you know, and that's the
well, they
reason.
would heal different things,
Yeah, and it was
and to me, that was
yeah,
pretty astounding.
yeah. That's why I was drawn to the trees. I didn't get the same feeling with the stones,
I didn't
but
either.
it was the trees that I was drawn to. I mean, it was like nature. That's you know that's why I
It
use
is
it.
nature.
So yeah.
Well, that's why with the healers, okay,
Mhm,
um, if you're a natural healer, then that's going to work with you.
mhm.
And that's what I mean, I'm an energy healer.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I
so but it worked.
yeah, I did.
It
It's
it fixed you
yeah. I mean, I
with
didn't
a
have to further shot in my shoulder, so I appreciate that.
you're welcome. But it's so funny because, Sherry in chat said, "I know you have a message for me, I can feel it." And I do not know what topic, and I do not offer them without knowing you. I'm so sorry because that can go awkwardly. Or you can message me on Facebook later.
Yeah.
Do
Do
that.
direct message, yeah.
But it really is so interesting because we didn't tell anybody else we were doing that energy work while we were there because Rick would have poo-pooed it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's such a personal thing working with that.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
it works though.
Yeah, yeah. It helped me. By the time I got into the doctor, the inflammation was gone, you know. So I was happy. I didn't want to get a cortisone shot in that in my shoulder, so
No, I don't like those. But I
didn't like
am sorry that it was so strong. I really am.
you really
That
shocked me.
shock therapy.
Yeah.
But it's really bizarre. And we're going back. We're going to be seeing some of the same things, some of the new things,
Mhm.
um, hanging out with our friends and just
Being.
being
Mhm.
calmly,
Yes.
hopefully. What do you what do you think you're expecting as far as
The trip?
well, not just the trip. What do you expect from a personal spiritual standpoint from there?
Well, I'm hoping that we go back to some of those places that has those energy circles because that renews me. I didn't realize how much of a healing it is
Mhm.
w- when you I guess when I experienced it when I was over there last year and then I came home, then it's like you just want to go back to experience that energy, that uh, healing feeling, I guess. It just feels
Connectivity.
connection. Well, it's
Mhm.
just like, we go to St. Andrews and I walk out there at the harbor. It's like it's home.
Yeah.
The first time Rick took me out there and we walked across that bridge and I got to go to the beach and he was, talking. And I finally said, just shh, just,
Yeah.
and I just stood there, and it was like the modern world was gone, and all I could see was what it used to be. Like
Yeah.
it was a, my soul moved, like I told you before. And that doesn't happen often, but it was like I was home. And I feel that way each time we go to St. Andrews and I go out to that North Sea and I look, and it's like it's home. I
Yeah.
can't, it's, to me it's perfect. you
As
know
it's perfect.
yeah, it's just perfect. Just leave me here and I'm okay. I'm all right. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I when I come home here, I miss that. Since I've seen it and experienced it and felt it, I miss it. you know
Yeah.
those things that just moves your soul.
Is it
And
a homesickness?
yeah, it's a longing, or like a ache, because staying in St. Andrews, what we're staying several days. I will, every day I will walk my butt over to the harbor,
Yeah.
and I will sit there or stand there, or you know I can't go swimming there because it'll be September, August, end of August of September. But I will be out there. I will either sit on the bench or I'll just go walk out along the beach. But
Hmm.
it's like, this is home. There's the ache is gone when I'm there.
Yeah.
But when I leave, there's a dull ache that I want to go back and just be there. It's just like, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. you know. So it that's the as far as personal, that's you know that will take care of that ache for a few days.
Right.
We'll do like a reset. And just like if we go walk around and I see a circle of trees now, since you brought it to my attention, I'll be heading for the circle of trees again to get renewed, or the energy, clear
Yeah.
away the negative. And it does.
You,
Do that.
you know what got me, and it really did. Um, you called me one afternoon. We were on the phone. We talk every day,
Oh yeah.
and you were in a struggle, and I said, "Go find a tree.
Mm-hmm.
You live on farmland," and you said, "There are no trees." And I'm like, "There has to be a tree somewhere," and you were like, "Nope." And I was just like, "How do you not have trees?" You know, I was just like, "You have to have a tree." And that's when I realized, because we talk about how
Mm-hmm.
you need ways to ground and stuff. And that's what that is, it's grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just yelling at her to find a tree and she doesn't have one. So I do apologize for that. But, you know, maybe when it gets like that, you can drive into town
Mm-hmm. That's the
and
only.
just find one and lean on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that
And
grounding mat helps too.
it does.
It
Yeah.
helps. It's free, but it's still grounding.
Yeah.
You know. So I get the negative ions from the grounding mat, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
There's days when I struggle. That's it happens.
Well,
Positive. I
don't
started.
you have like a town square that might have trees?
The courthouse has a couple trees. The squirrel lives in Maverick.
That's what's wrong. You're a
Yeah,
squirrel and you don't have a tree.
that's true.
That is the whole issue.
That's it. That's it. I'm
So,
I'm telling you. But it's so funny is when I'm by, which, I'm by myself most of the time, I'm never squirreling. I'm always focused. I'm always looking. I'm always making sure. But when I'm with you and Rick, it's
making
like
sure you're safe.
I'm just everywhere. It's like I don't have to
She
worry about
is.
it. I can look around. I can wander off. I don't have to be focused. And yeah, that's my
That's a
vacation.
very freeing thing, isn't it? I think it is.
Yes. Well, but when
When
you're alone, which I am a lot by
Mhm.
myself, um, I'm so focused. I'm so razor focused on everybody and everything around me and everything going on. And when I'm driving, I don't get to look at the scenery. I don't get to, it's
Yeah,
making sure I don't get run over, that type of thing.
yeah,
But especially, well, you know how I am when I go down the Gulf Shores with you.
I do indeed.
Um,
I'm gonna get a leash for you.
I know. I'm
But
just looking around like, oh my gosh. That's how we found that float spa.
yes, which I'm still unsure about. That was such a weird thing. It's like being in the womb and tasting salt for a week.
Hmm.
But
I
I
did,
needed the magnesium, obviously.
obviously. Well, just like when we went to the UFO conference in Eureka Springs, look what kind of activity we got there.
Indeed. That
Indeed.
was trippy.
I mean, hello. I know the crescent was supposed to be really, really
I
hot.
know. I had no idea.
The Crescent, but this place that I can't think of the name.
Basin,
Yeah, the Basin.
the Basin Hotel.
Oh my gosh, that that
Off
activity
the chain.
off the chain. It was crazy, crazy, crazy.
And
And
I didn't. So glad because we were supposed to do a tour. I couldn't go because I had to do an interview. So you went ahead and went.
hmm
And you came back and said, "This guy said we need to go here."
yep, that's
And
what
so we did. Basin
he
Park. That's what it was. Basin
yeah,
Park Hotel.
he said. He told me he said if you do ghost hunts, I said yeah. He said go do the Basin because he said yes, the Crescent is haunted, but the Basin. He said it's there's so much activity in that place. And then on
Yeah.
my phone, after we had talked about it, all this, the paranormal tours started popping up on my phone. And
Yeah.
that's when I found that. And I said, let's go do it. So we did. And I'm glad we did. She
Um,
had all sorts of equipment. She had all kinds of stuff that we could use, you know,
mhm.
and it was, wow.
It was insane. It really was insane,
Hmm.
especially that ballroom
Oh yeah. That upstairs.
because I did not anticipate this. And it was the most haunted place I've been in eons.
Hmm.
And I would put it up against Winchester House.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Seriously. And I
Hmm.
feel like the activity was more consistent than Winchester. But Winchester haunting is much more personal to the house.
Right.
But this was crazy.
Yeah.
And I would I would venture to say that as far as a child spirit that would play with you,
Hmm.
that's the strongest child spirit I've ever interacted with.
Ever encountered because you would ask her to take that ball and put it in a circle and then make
Mhm.
it smaller and smaller. She did it. I
Yep.
mean, it was like, holy mackerel, you know,
Yeah.
holy mackerel. And she would light the candle and turn it off, light the candle, turn it off. And then the guy spirit out there was dinging the bell when we asked him to.
Oh my gosh, and I went out there
Mm-hmm.
and, to stand to look out those windows where she said that he had been looking,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard y'all talking to him, and then I heard the thing ding right
Mm-hmm.
there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
That was different.
Yeah.
So, because I didn't really expect him to be in there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It was so pretty because there's a full moon and there's that mountain, and I'm just looking and absorbing, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was the most haunted place.
Yes. That
I
was
mean,
even the basement when we
yes,
got
the
down,
speakeasy.
yeah, the speakeasy down there. We were having crazy activity with the
Yeah,
it was nuts. It was absolutely insane. The you know, it was it was something. The other 2
well,
people that were with us, they were a little off, but, you and me and the, tour guide, we did pretty good, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I
And
think
I was very impressed with her.
yeah.
She was very knowledgeable about the hotel's history. She was very knowledgeable about the spirits that are there.
Mhm,
I did not like the room that we went to that had the mother and child and the male spirit, because the
mhm,
male spirit was a putz,
yeah,
and he
yep,
just did not feel
it
safe.
no, and they didn't feel
And mm-mm,
not at all, and I got that I got the feeling that something was, like, right up around me, holding on to me, because I said, "Don't let them,"
yeah,
you know, it was like, "Whoa," you know?
it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I love investigating places of that nature, but I'm glad that we went to that one as opposed to the Crescent,
Yeah. Mhm.
because I have never talked to anyone that really had definitive experiences at the Crescent.
Right.
I always hear how haunted it is and all this stuff. I don't know anyone that's had true experiences there that I've talked to.
Right.
And so
The
when you
basin.
came back with that recommendation about the Basin Park, I was like, let's check it out. And
Mhm.
it started with a bang,
Oh,
and
man.
it kept on moving.
The whole time. The entire we had it was there was constant activity from the time we started. Even when she was explaining everything, that bell was going off.
Yeah.
It was it was just amazing. It was amazing. If when we go back, I want you to go on the, golf cart
Well,
tour.
if I don't get tied down. And that was actually so funny, because that was the interview that I did that didn't work. The electronics didn't work. In fact, Carl was like, "What happened? You had technical problem." I said, "I had every technical problem." And so we redid that.
Mhm.
But it was amazing. And I was just like, okay, I wasn't supposed to go on that golf cart tour apparently.
Apparently.
And it was, I mean, I love interviewing people at events, so to me, it
Yeah.
was a trade-off. If it
Yeah.
had gone well with the electronics, it would have been perfect, but, um, the fact that you came back and, we had the chance to go and have a really nice dinner where
Mhm.
I have been wanting to get back to,
Mhm.
and so then we got to go and do a ghost hunt, and, it wound up being just a perfect day
Oh, yeah.
and a perfect night.
Well, we got to have with, that doctor, um,
Dr. Sam.
Dr. Sam, that's it.
Yeah.
And he
The Bosnian Pyramid Man.
yeah, the Bosnian guy. And, that was an interesting listening to him, you know. He was definitely, um, very forceful with it. Yeah.
You're so diplomatic.
Yeah.
But I mean, he is, he's doing amazing work.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, anybody I talk to about that, they're like, "There are pyramids in Bosnia?" I'm like,
Mhm.
heck yeah, there are. Go
Yeah.
check them out.
Yeah.
And, the energy beams coming out of the top and coming in, I mean, all of that's fascinating.
Mhm.
I can't wait to get him on. We're
Yeah.
having a scheduling problem.
Nah.
But, such different time frames. It's just like, "Oh my god, I don't
Mhm.
know what we're gonna do."
Mhm.
And so, you know and he's like, "Well, you need to come here," and I'm like, "You're on a warning list with our State Department. My husband is not gonna let me come to Bosnia
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
maybe later." But it's really a interesting thing because, I mean, basically, they're just peeling the trees and then the grasses and dirt
Taking
off,
all
and
the
they're revealing a pyramid.
Mhm.
And he saw it using satellite technology, and that's how they spotted a lot of the ones in, North
Mm.
Asia.
Mhm. That
So
they're using LiDAR more and more and more, and they're finding all this stuff.
mhm,
And he found, well, he lives in Texas,
mhm,
and
yeah,
he funded it himself. I mean, he funded this whole project of peeling back the layers all
yeah.
himself. He said the government has nothing in on this.
Well,
They
he
have,
uses students.
yeah.
Students come out there, and it's kind of like an internal internship
Hmm.
to be able to be out there and do the work, whether they're archaeology students or history
People.
students or, you know, I mean, I would go if I were young
Bosnia.
and unencumbered and,
Yeah.
but because Serbia, Bosnia is a pretty tough place right now.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But it was interesting that, like I said, when we go back to Eureka Springs, I definitely
Yes.
do the golf cart tour because the places that he takes you to, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you know, because we could park and where the tour buses can't. You can park in that one church, that one Catholic church. It was amazing. The inside of it, it was like, wow, you know,
What was amazing about it?
it was the carvings and stuff that were on the inside that was from a family that lived there. Um, it was just beautiful. I mean, it was still a church, but it's, used. But when you walk in on the path, you go to the like the bell, the tower, and you walk down a pathway, and the church is in front of you, and you can walk all the way around, and there's carvings all the way up and down through there of the it was Christ being um I can't remember what it was
Was it
called.
like the Stations of the Cross?
Yes, Stations of the
Okay.
Cross. Wasn't coming to me, and it was all hand carved. It was beautiful. And then you could go into the church. He took us into the church, and it's a real small church, but it's just the stained glass is just amazing. It really is, and it was built by the influential people that when Eureka Springs was built, you know,
Okay.
and it was really cool, just really, really, special. The place was very, very special. And then you're down there, and then if you look up, you can see Crescent up there. The Crescent was up on the hill, but the
Right.
church was there on the bottom. But if you turned around, you could look up and see the Crescent. And then he told the history of the Crescent, what it was a girls' school and what happened, you know, because they during the hotel during the winter time there was no business because it was the roads, everything was treacherous, so nobody would come stay at the Crescent. So that's when they did the girls school, and the influential townspeople that had daughters would they could send them to the Crescent, so the Crescent would be open, year round, and would still, thrive because of the families would pay tuition for these girls for education. And
Right.
he was talking about the girls, as the tour guy says, girls will be girls, and the boys in town knew that they were in there up on the higher floors, and the girls, being girls, would drop these baskets down and haul the guys up to their rooms because they couldn't go through the entrance because of the people that were in charge wouldn't let
Right.
them in. So the girls did this pulley thing and get the guys up to their room. And the
But we'll find a way, right?
love will find a way. And the director found out about it. He found out what was going on, and he figured I don't know, he watched, he observed, but they would whistle somehow. The guys would whistle, and the girls would lower the basket down. And so he whistled, or I think that's what happened, and they lowered the basket down. He crawled in, and this is like, I don't know how many floors up, and the girls was pulling him up and saw who it was and dropped him from like 7 floors.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he survived. Broke both of his legs. He survived. I went, ooh, I imagine that wasn't good.
Repercussions abound, right?
And the
Holy
guys
wow.
and the guy said, well, he kind of got what he deserved. You know, he shouldn't have been going up there, scaring the girls. I said, yeah, but
Well,
they were found out that they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing. He said,
yeah.
yeah, girls will be girls. And
Probably I would have just gone up there and been waiting when somebody came up. I
yeah,
don't know that I would have gotten in a basket to go up 7 stories.
yeah, it's like,
So that's just me.
yeah. So, yeah, he was telling stories about different things that went on in there, and oh, the town. I mean the architecture. He said,
Yes.
it's he took us to a lot of the places. It's been there for years and years and years and years, ever since the town was started, and you have historical. They're under historical, you know, guard. They can't change anything, and it's really an amazing little town. It really is.
It's a funky little town.
Yeah, it's very artsy,
Yeah.
very, and it's yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool place. I'm glad. I just wish you would have been with me on it, but it was. If we go back, we're gonna go do it, and I'll
Oh,
pay.
well, we'll be back. So that's my favorite UFO conference because it's
Hmm.
so up close and personal.
Hmm.
And, you know, that's my favorite thing
Hmm.
is when I go to, whether it's someplace like, the one we did in Glasgow or Eureka Springs, the ones on the West Coast are so big
Hmm.
that it's hard to get really personal with people because, especially if the ancient alien guys are there, because everybody wants in their face.
Yeah.
And so that's no place to go if you want to talk to them. All right. But it's so cool when you do get to go because you have things like I got to have a interaction of a session with the Mitchell crystal skull.
Hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
But and that was gifted to me by the owner. I thought that was one of the most nice things anybody's ever done for me because
Yeah.
he didn't really know me for me, but he thought I was awesome, and I thought he was awesome. And his wife wrote "Romancing the Stone," okay,
Oh, okay.
and the Jewel of the Nile.
Oh, how cool.
So and she is so nice and so wonderful. I just had so much fun with them.
Oh, good.
But he had already gifted it to me, and she and I were talking, and she turned around and said, "You need to give her a session." He said, "She's coming at 5 tomorrow." She's like, "Good job." So, it was so much fun. But and just so you know, yeah, those things are real and they're cool. And um it's a very interesting experience. And he actually let me touch it. And that's not normal.
Very
But
odd.
he put my hands on it as part of my meditation. And he had told me you don't do that, right?
Mhm.
And so I was very careful not to. And then
Mm.
I'm meditating and he takes my hands and puts them on the skull. And I'm like, and he's like, "It's okay, just do it. It's okay that it wants to do that." And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was a very spiritual moment.
I was gonna say
But
it'd have to be.
it was.
Mhm.
It really was.
Mhm.
And this crystal skull actually had the mandible, the lower jaw that it sat on.
Mhm.
And they don't all have that.
Oh,
It
okay.
makes it kind of special.
Yeah.
And it actually activates, like you can see the thing, like the skull, the
Mhm.
brain stuff, not the skull stuff, but the brain stuff inside the skull.
Oh, okay.
And it's very weird because it's not in there. So
Wow.
I don't really know how to explain that other than to say that you will see the globes of the brain
Okay.
in a crystal thing that doesn't have anything in it.
Wow.
It was very
Yeah.
unexpected.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was probably one of my most unique experiences relevant to
Mhm.
that particular conference. It was fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I got to see Starlink for the first time there that year. I was very excited to see Starlink
Mhm.
because what I was told was Starlink was not Starlink. And that's, I've shared that before on here. People are probably tired of hearing it, but it was funny
Mm.
because somebody that shouldn't have told me different did. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then when I actually saw Starlink, I'm like, that is not what I saw. And so, well, that's Starlink. I said, no, this is what I saw. And you told a man that that was Starlink when he
Mhm.
showed you a video of what he had seen it different than I had a different time.
Mhm.
And so that's why I thought that was Starlink.
Mhm.
And I'm like, liar, liar, pants on fire.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, I do. I get off on tangents on things like that. But one of these days, we're going to go to the West Coast together, and you're going to go to
Contact in the desert.
either Contact in the Desert or UFO Congress. Well, I don't know if UFO Congress still runs, but there are some bigger, more dramatic kind of conferences.
You
And
know, make it out to the West Coast, you know where I wanna go.
Rick's house.
No, no.
Where do you want to go?
I wanna go to the boat.
Queen Mary.
Yes, in Alcatraz, or at least go by it, you know?
Alcatraz is San Francisco,
Oh, okay.
and um, Queen Mary is down below Pasadena.
Oh, okay.
So those are two separate trips, girl.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say if we're gonna be gone for a while, let's just drive up the coast.
Mm. That's about a 6 to 8 hour drive up the coast.
Okay. All right. Well, I was-
And I wouldn't drive in California right now in a bit.
well, no.
So maybe if they get things under control, but
Or
I don't know what it's going to take for that to happen.
or
So
make
there's
Rick
that.
I make Rick take us. Take us.
Well,
Take
he leaves the country every time I go to California.
That's true.
He does. It's so funny. I used to get a complex, and then I went to Scotland, and now I know why he does that.
Yeah. Well, it's
So
understandable.
it makes sense now.
Hmm. Well, we'll experience a different side of Scotland when we go the end of August versus September. It will be different. So it's okay. We're going to check things out. But like I said, the train, we know the trains, we know how to get around.
We do. And, you know, Rick has taken very serious his guardianship of me when we go someplace.
He kicks me, he'll kick me to the curb.
Well, he's like, I'm not telling David that I lost you. And he's like, I'm not making that phone call. So, and I'm like, it's okay. I've had to make that phone call before. So
It's all
I
good.
don't plan to make it again. I'm going to make somebody else make it if anything ever happens. But it was not boring.
No.
So, but you know, I loved the San Francisco area. My very first Alien Con
Hmm.
was outside of San Francisco, and
Okay.
it was such a pretty little town,
Hmm.
and it was where we went. Um, we went to the Winchester House, and we stayed at that hotel, and we went to that little Scottish restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
It was right in that area.
Okay.
So,
That was
um,
cool.
yeah. So that was when I went to. That's when they thought they were going to get 3,000 people and got like 9 or 10,000,
Yeah.
and they did not fit in their venue. They had no idea that they were such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
So then the next year, it was not someplace that small.
Yeah.
It was still good though. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But they do a good job with their things.
Cool. Well, like I said, if I'm
So,
there, I'm hoping I can at least get to the Queen Mary because I've always
well,
wanted.
I drove down. I had lunch down
Okay.
there.
Hmm.
And then I drove back from there to Vegas.
Oh,
And it took me about 3 hours to get through LA.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a real cluster. My friend, who's the producer for Coast to Coast,
Yeah.
I was talking to him and he was like, don't get on the five. I'm like, I'm on the five. He was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. And I knew what he was talking about because it took me forever to get out of that city. And I'm sitting there seeing the Hollywood sign. And I'm like, well, I wonder if Rick were here, he might be up there hiking. But that's like I said, he flees the country when I go to California.
Ah.
It's always when he's going to Scotland
Yeah.
before I started going too.
Well, I'm just praying that this time that he feels better.
Yeah. Well, we're going to limit the sugar
We're gonna hide the.
and make sure he doesn't get COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll hide the chocolate. So
Hide the, well, he's more of an ice cream guy than the
yeah.
chocolate guy, but it's just a thing.
Yeah. It is. I'm just hoping that he feels better and he's functional. So,
Yeah.
and he
Well,
doesn't remember a lot from the
yeah,
last. So hopefully this time he will.
it'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, we are out of time,
Oh,
Chickadee. So thank you for coming and talking the paranormal with me.
well, you know
It's so
that.
much fun when we do that. We've got so many stories to share.
Oh yeah.
But well, I will see you in the funny papers. And for everyone listening, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. And catch me Sunday night on Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. Thanks for being here. Good night.